Hello everybody, hope you're having a great week. Now welcome back to a brand new episode of World v World Solo Roaming. Lots of cool changes, demolishers here, Stelly's gone, really excited, so let's get into it. If you guys enjoyed the video, I'm hoping to reach 3,000 subscribers by the end of the year, so if you enjoy it, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, it doesn't cost anything. Thanks so much guys. Now today's story begins where we typically begin, and that is in the desert. I'm on a new Herald build here. If you're curious about the build, you can look at my last video I put up in PvP. That shows the build. I'm just using the Rivers Relic, I think Pack Runes, and Dual Swords Greatsword here. So, very first fight is against the Condi Mirage. Now, if you know anything about Guild Wars 2 matchups, you'll know that Condi Mirage is probably Power Revenant's single hardest counter. So this was definitely a good test of my new build here. A little bit of limit testing, right? I think that's the word for it. So those Condi Mirages, you want to dodge those sort of lunge attacks. That's kind of the axe skill that's going to be doing a lot of that damage to you. So I'm just trying to pace my cleanses because he's going to be doing a little bit of condition pressure and then looking for a big Condi burst on me. He gets a MOA off on me, but it's a nice short duration, and I am able to just out damage him. Now here's the funny part, look at all these downed clones. Got 14 stacks of confusion on me. I almost die from the downed clones putting confusion on me, so I have to run away and go up the mountain and hide for a minute until I can get my heal back, and then I can go in and finish the fight. So good test of the new build. The lack of Condi cleanse is definitely showing though on that first clip. This build, I gave up a little bit of my Condi cleanse, but I think it's okay. I think it's okay. So after that, I did a little bit of searching around, and this clip, I can't say I put this in here to brag or to show how good of a player I am. I definitely put this one in here to laugh at myself. Now, I come across this NG, this Hollowsmith. Now, you see that there's a mech there, and once upon a time, I think it may still be around, but once upon a time there was a bug where any NG spec could have the mech active, even if they didn't have Mechanist equipped. So when I came across this Hollow, I thought, oh my goodness, here's somebody exploiting that bug. He's a Hollowsmith, but he's got the mech equipped. And so honestly, like, from the first second of this fight, I was a little bit tilted because I thought that this was somebody exploiting a bug. And so I lose the fight, obviously, but then I realized, oh, wait a minute, that's not somebody exploiting a bug. There's just an actual Mechanist there that doesn't have a guild tag, and he was just hanging back with the rifle. So I didn't see him, I didn't notice him, and I got completely owned by that by that combo, just because I was too busy with a chip on my shoulder to realize what was actually going on. So I ran back to try and get a rematch, and I do find it. So I find the Hollowsmith here, able to get the dismount on him. And now I can finally get a fair duel with this guy, which is what I really wanted to do. I admire and respect Hollow players. It's a build that's never really clicked in my brain. I mean, look at that. Look at me failing to dodge the most telegraphed Prime Light of all time. So, big respect to the Hollow players. I don't know how you guys do it. And it's always an interesting duel because it feels pretty fair. So, I foolishly teleport into his block, which knocks me back. I still cancel my Glint Wings. I'm looking for a good opportunity for the Glint Heal, so I use it there into his Forge 4 because of the burn and pistol damage. So those nades are scary though. I'm going to try and juke them out. A little bit of pressure when he's in his nade kit. And switch to the Greatsword. Greatsword 3 to close the gap. Greatsword 5 to hopefully finish the fight. Here it goes, and boom. Greatsword 5 to finish any fight is always so satisfying, and that was a really good duel. Much respect to that Hollowsmith, and the build is feeling alright. We'll see. To be determined. I may stick with it, I may continue to tweak it. Now, I decided to change map to the Alpine Borderlands, and I was just roaming around looking for fights and duels and such, and I had a pretty funny moment here. I was going through this pass, and if you're familiar with this map, you'll know that there's a veteran worm up here. I'm not very familiar with, you know, all the little intricate details of World v World, but as I'm passing the worm, I find a Willbender to duel. Now, the worm is chucking rocks at me, and I've never encountered this before, right? So, like, This is a completely wild experience for me. See, the worm is going to check a rock here. I'm going to try to dodge it, but I time it wrong, and it knocks me down. So I get knocked down one time by the worm here. Knocked down a second time by the worm, and that takes my stun break away. I use my stun break, and then the guardian stuns me. I put my block up, and the worm hits me another time through my block. So that rock thing that the worm shoots is unblockable. I can't believe that. And then he leaves me to die a sad, wormy death all by my lonesome. So it was kind of an epic fight, honestly, but one that there was no chance of me winning. But I did want a rematch with this guy, just not featuring the worm. So I went and I killed the worm, and I'm looking around to see if I can find this guy, and he reappears. So I'm thinking, okay, here we go. Finally, I can get a good, clean, square fight against this guy because he's a good player. I wanted to fight him some more. So we dismount one another, and a little bit of chip damage, just looking to warm him up, get my boons stacking, and get some cooldowns out of him. Now, he's used his Spear 4 and 5, so I know that he's getting a little bit low on his cooldowns, so I can do a little bit of a port in. Greatsword 5 does big damage, and get a knockback into a good little combo with the Sword 2. Sword 3 lands and gets me some big damage, but another pack of NPCs is moving. Look at these, like, Minotaur guys moving into our fight. Like, you know, you almost want to complain about it, but at the same time, it's kind of epic that what's going on. And nice little combo there, and the Sword 5 ends up winning that fight. Now, I know that Willbender is a hotly contested thing, but I enjoyed these duels, and you know what? I think that there's a couple builds out there that I'd dislike fighting even more than Willbender, like maybe Thief. And here's actually a really fun clip. I am partied up with Barry, but all these fights are solo. Barry's off doing something different. Now, I come across this Soul Beast who looks like he wants to duel. A little fun fact about me is I actually was a Ranger main before I sort of fell in love with Rev. So, I like to think that I know what he's going to do to me. There's a little pew-pew from up the stairs. I try and pressure him, and I use 2 CCs into his stability like a big noob. He goes up onto those rocks. I don't want to let him take that advantageous position, so I kind of pull back. He knocks me back. Go for a little bit of a burst. Lots of damage lands. So I'm going to just step back and recollect some energy, do one last burst, and see where that gets us. So one last burst, and we get the down. So that was a good little duel. Always, you know what, I like seeing Soul Beasts. I think that it's a fun build, and it's a little bit nostalgic for me because that was sort of the class where I started to get into PvP and World v World on, and right away, immediately, there's a Mesmer ready to duel me, and he's a power Mesmer, which I like to duel, and I respect people who can pull this build off. I certainly can't. So here we go. I'm trying to just dodge his burst. He uses his grab well. I step out of that. Now watch this here. He knocks me off of the stairs. What a well-timed knock. But I go for one more burst here while he's on the stairs, get a little bit of a knockdown, followed up with a little bit of damage. Hydro Sigil does big damage, and the Sword 3 gets the down on the Chrono. So I thought that was a cool back-to-back fight like that. 2 people playing interesting builds, 2 people playing builds that I like to fight, and it went well. So a very short while after the fight with the Chrono, a Willbender actually appears as well, and hey, I'll take it. I mean, that's sort of 3 duels in a row versus people on, you know, builds that I enjoy fighting. So this is kind of a fun little section for me. You know, it felt so alive with all these people coming on with all these different builds. You know, you do see a lot of Willbenders, but like I say, they're not on the list of things that I'd like to fight. They're not at the very bottom. They're a few spots up from the bottom, so I don't mind. So he steps back to get some cooldowns back. I say, okay, that's fine. He hops up on the wagon, which is a no-port spot. I can't teleport to him, so I'm just going to hang out, wait until he drops down. And then when he drops down, I have lots of energy, so I can go in for a big burst with impossible odds, because I've got energy to blow. And big burst, lots of my damage lands. I've still got my glint heal. I use it while he puts a symbol down and goes for a burst, but he doesn't really follow that up. And he's looking to kite, but he's low, and the Sword 3 gets the down on him. So I really like that clip. Sort of 3 back-to-back-to-back duels. He did invite me to the party, but he was just saying hi. He was a nice guy. So yeah, that was a good clip. So a little while later, I was just roaming around, and I got somebody messaged in, I think it was map chat or team chat, that they were taking this tower. So I thought to myself, okay, I have supply. I can go over and help take this tower. So I walk over there, and this is something that is kind of new to me, and I'm kind of just looking for a sanity check from you guys, because the person looking for the help was a thief. And I'm going to cut the part where he does it, but he bugs himself into the tower. And he says, on me, and then he portals people in. Now, I'm not going to take that portal. Are you kidding me? I don't want to, you know, participate in that. But I just was a little bit shocked that this guy could just like jump up in there using clearly a bug and just portal in, because like, look, I even checked the walls. This wall obviously is still standing. The wall on the other side is still standing. This wall here is still standing. And I even looped around and checked on the gate. And yeah, he just bugged it in. So I don't know. Like, does ArenaNet care about this? Do they ban people for this? I don't know. But after that, I didn't really want anything to do with that. So I went over to EBG. And I got another good duel against another Willbender. This is the Willbender dueling episode, I tell you, man. So this is kind of cool because I've never really fought anybody in this like mole zone. They kind of came into play a little bit in our duel, which is, I don't know, it makes it a little bit interesting. So I need to dodge his big damage. He is using the spear. He's not using the Stormsinger relic, so he's not like full meta, but he is using that spear, so he's a very scary man. Okay. Blinded. I don't have resistance on this particular build. I was screwing around with builds a lot, again, in this video. That's kind of a common theme for me in World v World. Always tweaking the build. But big damage with the Death Strike there. Collect a little bit of energy. Pour it in. Do a big burst with Shiro. Greatsword 5 finishes that duel. Man, Greatsword 5 to finish a duel. Always super satisfying. Always, always, always. So, good fight to him. And here... This one's kind of stupid. I come across this druid who's trying to get into tower the old-fashioned way, you know, the non-cheating way, so respect to him for that. But he's Condi druid, and I pop in, and he pulls me with the Iboga through the wall. Oh my goodness, how humiliating is that? And then he kills me with the ram. I'm just like stuck here getting slammed by the ram, and it's, you know, I could use my heal, but that just leaves me in ram slam jail for longer, so I decided, no, I'm not even going to heal. I'm just going to take my death. So that's just a funny one. I thought I'd include that because I thought that was kind of funny. So, so after I got free from ram jail, I decided it's time to change map. Now, this is just a funny clip that I'm going to let play while I talk about my build, okay? So I'm a Herald fan. I'm a Herald guy. I really like Herald. If I had to pick a #1 favorite build to play in the whole game, it would be Herald. For PvP and World v World, for fighting against people, that's my #1, okay? And so I really wanted to make Herald work. See, I think this guy was trying to hide, so I just give him a little wave. So I've been really trying to make Herald work, and I've tried so many different variations and different builds, different traits, different combinations of gear, and I've just never quite found the one that checks kind of all three boxes. And those boxes are, of course, being able to duel and win those 1v1 fights, being able to survive in outnumbered scenarios, like when there's more than one enemy pressuring you. You need to be able to survive those situations. And the third box being able to generate kills in those 1v1, in those outnumbered 1vx situations. You know, if you want to win them, like, okay, you can survive them and run away, and that's great, but you want to also win them, right? Or at least I do. And in order to do so, you need to be generating kills. You need to do enough damage and have enough sort of bite to actually generate downs and secure them. So I found that my build was lacking in damage. It felt great to duel on, and I could survive outnumbered quite easily, but I couldn't win those outnumbered scenarios. So what I did is I increased the level of ferocity that I was running. so that my crits were hitting harder, and that would be a good way to increase my damage. And you'll see I got this outnumbered situation here. I'm 3v1. Now, I'm pressuring the Willbender. That was the person who I decided to pressure. Hindsight, of course, 2020. I think if I were to go back, I would have probably pressured the support, but you see it was working against the Willbender. I generate that down. But the two enemies stick the res on him, or no, actually just the one. But anyways, they res him up. And honestly, I felt like I wasn't doing too bad here because I was able to generate that down, and I'm surviving. I've got, you know, good boon up time. I've got good endurance regeneration, lots of dodging. I've got that alacrity so I can get my glint heal off more frequently. I felt like I was doing good here, but like I'm just kind of on the cusp of winning these outnumbered situations. Get my glint heal off just in time and get a lot of healing out of it. And okay, there's another small complaint I had about my build is, okay, I'm taking some Demolisher gear, meaning I've got some toughness, and I'm also taking Retribution, which means I have reduced incoming damage modifier, which means that the glint heal can sometimes be less value, because if you're taking less damage, that means you're healing for less, right? So, okay, here's another clip. This was back-to-back, right after that last 3v1. I get a 2v1 here. And still on Herald, still the same build. And this is another one where like I'm just on the cusp. Like I'm really, really close to being able to win these. But I just need that last little bit of fine-tuning to kind of push me over the edge. So I decided to pressure the Spellbreaker first because he's on kind of a wacky build. I don't know if this is like something that's running Zergs, or if this guy's just cooking up something funky, or what. But he appears to be rifle, some main hand, and then offhand dagger. So I decided that he's the guy I'm going to pressure. So I get a good burst on him. I've got my glint heal ready, looking to use it. I get a nice big heal off of it. I'm almost full health, and I go for a burst, but he does a very well timed full counter, and that negates a lot of my burst. Well done by him there. I don't think I'm able to secure the down because I get stuck with my Facet Naturon. But you see, I'm like just on the cusp of being able to generate those downs, but I'm just not quite there yet. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, what can I change here? So there's the traits I was running, and I decide, what if I try Vindicator? You know, I'm a Herald guy, I love Herald, but ultimately I do want to win these, right? So I put Vindicator on. And I'm not going to cut this part because I want to show you that I just equipped Vindicator, okay? And then I pop down here, I kill this sentry. And wouldn't you know it, I'm immediately ganked from behind by 2. So you'll see it here in just a second. I think I'm even in my map while it happens, so it scares the bejesus out of me. And so I get ganked here. And this is my very first outnumbered fight with the new build on Vindicator. So it's a Willbender and it's a Reaper, so this is not an easy fight. These are two very good roaming builds that I'm personally pretty scared of. So I'm able to make some space here using my Scavenger Burst, Nomad's Advance, and the backwards roll. And I get a nice burst on the Reaper here, and I decide that I'm going to pressure him. So he puts his Shroud up, so I need to make some space, and I want to let him get rid of his Shroud. I cast my Spear of Archimedes and time a big burst just as the spear lands, and that secures the first down on the Reaper. Now I want to try and make sure that they're not able to res this. I use my heal. Maybe that wasn't the right prioritization of skills. I think maybe going for a Death Strike would have been better. But the Sword 2 gets the down on the Willbender. Now the Reaper gets his Shroud back, so I need to just play passive, play careful while he gets rid of his Shroud. And he bends over to start the res, and that's my cue to go for a burst. And so I do that, and I secure my very first 2v1. Oh man, I was really satisfied with that, especially considering that like I had just made that change to my build, and then immediate results like a minute later or whatever. It was just like, I don't know, it was just like a sign almost. So I pop up the hill here, and there's a Dragon Hunter. Now, I mean, don't take this as anything particularly impressive because like he's starting at half health, but I am able to land a huge burst on him, and so just more sort of, you know, reinforcement that, okay, this build, we're going down the right path here. And, you know, maybe a minute later I come across a Reaper here. This is still on the new build, still on the Vindicator. So we get to dismount on him, and we begin our fight. I dodge his Chill to the Bone, you never want to eat that. And I just land a huge burst with the Spear of Archimedes, mixed in with some Sword 3 damage and the Hydromancy Sigil. And, like, this build is just, like, tearing people to shreds, man. Like, I think I may have cooked here, right? So, I noticed that, and this leads into probably the coolest World v World fight that I've ever been a part of. So I see this warrior up here, and I begin fighting him. Now, he is running away. He seems like he doesn't really want to duel. I'm not super keen on, like, forcing people to duel. Like, typically if somebody is running away and they, you know, don't want the smoke, I just let them escape. But in this scenario, I just realized that he's got 2 teammates here, and if I let this guy get away, he most likely will go and group up with his friends, and I'm going to get ganked. So I think, okay, I'm just going to squash this. He logs off the game. But I start fighting this thief here, and Condi Thief is something that Rev typically has a lot of trouble with, and you see another person joins in, another person joins in, so I'm 3v1 now. So here is going to be that test of that outnumbered survivability, see if I can survive this outnumbered scenario. So they're all on my tail. I'm able to use my block to avoid the grab well, and I'm just going to use some kiting here. You can use the Riposting Shadows, the backwards roll, and Shiro to make some space. There goes that second grab well, and now I've made myself a duel. I've made myself a 1v1 because I've singled out this Guardian. He's all alone up here. So I'm able to land a nice big burst on him. Unfortunately, I don't know if I had weakness or what, but I didn't get a crit. But I do end up getting the down there. And so I'm going to try and secure this here. Got so much healing on St. Victor, which is really nice with the urn and the heal and everything. And even swapping between red and blue when you're on Vindicator heals a considerable amount. But the Guardian gets the symbol below his downed corpse and the res from the Thief, which gets him back up. So I'm 2v1 again. Chasing the Thief down while trying to survive the Guardian's burst. They're both like ranged Condi builds, which is something that, you know, Rev historically has a lot of trouble dealing with. But this particular build I'm on has a good amount of cleanse. It's got resolution, which helps a lot with these condition builds. And it's just feeling good. It's got a high amount of healing, high amount of mobility. So I'm able to survive this 2v1 scenario against 2 classes that typically, historically, kind of counter my build. And I single out the Thief. This is kind of one of the main strategies for winning these outnumbered fights is these divide and conquers, right? Do some kiting, try and get them to split apart, and then once they've split, go for that burst. My Sword 4 doesn't quite land on the Thief. I was really hoping for that. But he appears out of stealth with low health. I probably should have chased him there instead of going for a kite, but I'm just a little bit overly cautious from the Guardian's pistol damage, because that can actually add up. Now, I think looking back, it probably would have been better to just pressure the Guardian here. I think Barry once upon a time told me to never chase thieves. He's probably going to be mad at me watching this, but that's okay. But this was like my first time in a while playing Vindicator on World v World, so I'm still getting kind of warmed up. The Thief was in stealth when the Guardian rezzed him, but the Guardian burns his RF. It's renewed focus, so now I know that he's low, and I'm going to swap to him because I'm sick of chasing this Thief. So big pressure on the Guardian, it generates the down. Spread the love a little bit to the Thief, but I am kind of in trouble here. I am low health, right? And I've got a lot of poison on me, which is making my, you know, incoming healing reduced, right? So poison's a very, very scary condition, right? You don't want to be using big healing when you've got poison, because it's going to be detracting your incoming healing, especially with the addition of the Demon Queen relic in Janthir. You know, poison is extra scary now, so I just kind of guard this down, sort of like a dog doing some resource guarding. And a little bit of pressure on the Thief once he comes back for the res, but I'm just making sure that he's not able to get it. So the Guardian goes down, and now I can duel the Thief, which is exactly where I want to be. So, looking for him to pop out of stealth. There he goes. Port up to him. He gets some sort of huge Connie burst on me. I have no idea what that was, but I've got good cleanse, so I'm able to cleanse that. Here comes a different Guardian. This is now a different guy on Dragon Hunter. So now I'm 2v1 again against a Guardian and a Thief. The Thief gets a little out of combat reset, as they like to do, but that's okay. I can still fight this. And now here comes a third guy. Here comes a Soul Beast. So now I'm 3v1 again, and the Soul Beast pressures me. I'm gonna put my Spear of Archimedes up and then pull back a bit. So try and time a little bit of damage when he pops out of his little version of my Sword 3 from the smoke scale. A little bit of kiting here. We want to do that divide and conquer maneuver. See if we can split this Soul Beast apart from everybody else and go for a 1v1. Put a little bit of pressure on the Thief. You know, with hindsight again, I wouldn't do that. I would have probably just stayed on the Soul Beast, who was already pretty pressured. But a little bit of pressure over here on the Soul Beast. Thief is running in and out, which makes him hard to track down. But that's kind of what you expect from those guys. And I mean, the Soul Beast is very close to going down. But just think about the fact that, like, I've been able to survive Outnumbered all this time. I can't get my bloody urn off. They keep CCing me. I've been able to survive all this time Outnumbered, generate multiple kills while outnumbered, and I'm thinking to myself, I might even win this. Like this seems like a huge power spike compared to my previous Herald build. You know what? I decide that he is probably going to get the res. Rangers res really easily because they can get their pets to do it. So I decided to just give it up and take the full reset because I was already quite low. So right back to it. A little bit of burst onto the Thief here. Looking back at it, you know, same idea. I probably would have just stayed on the Soul Beast again here. But it's always different when you're in that scenario. It's different when you're playing versus when you're watching, right? It's kind of why you get things like those armchair quarterbacks type of thing. You know, you can watch Naru's gameplay and say, oh, I wouldn't have died there, but chances are you probably would have. Or I would have at least. So, yeah, chasing the Thief again when I should be on the Soul Beast. Puts his block up, but I did get a huge burst with the Spear of Archimedes on him. And the Thief does what thieves do and runs away. So this felt like a major breakthrough for me when it came to builds. The fact that I was able to survive as long as I had and win these outnumbered scenarios, like it felt like a huge breakthrough. I don't think I've given up on Herald. I think I still like it for dueling. But man, how can you possibly argue with those results? I was really pleased with how that went. So I'm gonna wrap up the episode there. I hope you guys enjoyed, and like I say, I'm trying to get 3,000 subscribers by the end of the year. So if you enjoyed the video and you wouldn't mind, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. It doesn't cost anything, and I will see you guys next week for another video. Thanks very much for watching. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks. Bye.